Hey everyone, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy here. Just giving you a little bit of what we saw, what we heard, things that were being talked about, and I'd love to have a conversation here tonight talking about the opening round of the 2019 USDGC, of course, the United States Disc Golf Championships. And because I'm going live and doing it the way I am, straight to YouTube without going through any other fancy mechanisms, I'm actually going to need just a moment. I want to go out and make sure that I can share the link with everyone so that people know that we're here, that I'm available, that everything's going on. We're going to see, so I do apologize. I want to take the link here, and if you could maybe do me a favor and go out there and put it out there as well. I know I just made a post a few moments ago on Facebook, but here we are. So here is the day one thoughts. And I'm sorry, I'm quickly posting to Facebook from the USDGC. All right, not quite as fancy as some of the other stuff that we've done in the past. I'm gonna do everything that I can to kind of follow along, but also talk about a few points that I actually wrote up. This might be the most I've ever done. There's actually like 5 things written down. So I want to talk about a few of those points. Some of them are obvious, some of them maybe not as obvious. And then I'd love to also have a little bit of a discussion with you guys. And if there's something that I can touch on that maybe I can provide some insight to, or something that caught your eye today, I'd love to talk about that as well. Excuse me, sorry. So first and foremost, of course, crazy day in that we're opening the USDGC, the 4-round event, the major, the final major of the year. We just got done with the women's major at the United States Women's Disc Golf Championships, a week or so ago. And and now here we are, and so much of the conversation clearly has been focused and has been around, can Paul McBeth finish out the year by taking down yet the final major of the year? And he's had a tremendous year, and it seems like the sponsorship changes, everything else that's been going on this year seems to have had very little impact on, obviously, on his performance and on his play. So I think I'd be crazy for us not to open with and talk a little bit about what happened when everyone's watching the scores, and so much of my information tonight will come to you thanks to me checking in on UDisc, referencing them, talking about them, and everything else. UDisc, of course, our #1 scoring app in the world. So when you look at the scores, you're seeing that, for starters, I'm going to start with Paul. Clearly, he had what I felt like was a pretty decent start. I believe he was I think he had 4 birdies. Sorry, I got to scroll down, and that's not even meant to be a joke. But he started out birdie. All right, so he had 4 birdies in the first 7 holes. He had a little hiccup on hole 5. It looks like he took a bogey there, and things seem to be going just fine. From, I think, what most people would say is a solid start. Very few people, I feel like, started out birdie, getting both the new hole 1 and the new hole 2. In the past, getting 1 and 2 maybe were a lot more common to get both of those. But as I'm looking at UDisc, I don't see a ton of them out there that got both 1 and 2. So Paul has a great start, gets the pars on 3 and 4. That's another discussion. That's actually another bullet point for a little later. And then takes the bogey on 5, 6, 7, picks up the birdies, and then 8, 9, back-to-back bogeys. 10, he gets the eagle. Now, I'm guessing that's always going to be in his game plan to be going at that hole, but maybe today he thought, well, I'm for sure going at it. I'm not on pace with where I want to be. And then what might be the worst 3 holes, and UDisc could check this for us probably, it might be the worst 3-hole stretch we've seen from Paul McBeth maybe ever. Yeah. I know there was some stats that were also run and talked about over on Dixon Jower's Facebook page that he has, is On the Box page, and there was a lot of great discussion going on there today. But to see Paul struggle the way he did, of course we said 8 and 9 taking the bogeys, but then on 11, 12, and 13 going 6, 9, 8 and playing those in 10 strokes over par. I'm guessing we're never going to see that again. I'm guessing Paul would like to say that too. But to have the struggle that he did, and to have such a fall off the way that he did. Now, I'll be the first to admit I did not necessarily see, and I know we can actually just drill down. We can click on a few things, and without beating it to death, I don't want to talk about everything, but OBs are the name of the game. When you're looking at UDisc, you see he had two OBs on, or he had an OB on 5 when he had the bogey, the OB on 9, and then on 11, 12, and 13, he had two OBs per hole, which also speaks to the teeth, speaks to the challenge that can be found out there on the course. Now, clearly, some players managed to get through those holes in far less strokes and not have nearly the challenge that he did. I don't know if there was some frustration in there. I don't know if he was pushing a little harder. I don't know if he was out of bounds by an inch or 2 inches. I cannot speak to any of that. I just know that when you're looking at a scorecard and you see those 6 OB strokes, for him to go 10 over in those 3 holes, that kind of tells the whole story. And then it looked like for a minute he was going to kind of finish strong. He takes ultimately the par on 14. On 15 he gets the bogey, but then 16 he takes the birdie. That's the one with the new mozzarella sticks, I think everyone's calling them. 17 he gets into the hay bales, and I don't know just how far he is, but he gets into the hay, well, I can tell you, he gets into the hay bales, but then doesn't convert. And to see someone like him get onto the green and then not convert is a little bit surprising in itself. So he doesn't convert, but then he takes the birdie on 18. So he finishes with 2 birdies, but still 6 over par. That's a statement. That's a phrase that may never get uttered again in referencing him. He birdies 2 out of the final 3 to finish 6 over. So clearly a challenging day, a rough day for him out there. I know a lot of people are harping on it, and a lot of people are also saying, well, he's human. And I can't stress that enough. Today proved that even he can go out and have a difficult go on a course that's like this. So wish him the best. I did send him a quick message. It was just a few minutes ago, though, and I just asked if there's anything that he, had to share or any insights or anything he wanted to provide. I did not catch up with him otherwise, and I just thought I would shoot him a message. He very well may be asleep already. I know it's already 10:30 on the East Coast, and he's not used to having the tee time that he's going to have tomorrow, and maybe he just needs to sleep things off. Whatever the case might be, of course, I wish him the best. I think everybody does, because even if you're not a Paul Membek fan, which is totally fine, you still have to wonder and think, like, what wasn't triggered, what wasn't happening, what cylinders weren't firing, what was it? I think just any fan of the game, again, fan of Paul or not, I think any fan of the game, you want to know what in the world was going on. So, all right, well, speaking of fans of the game, and I'm going to try and actually stick to something of my notes here, and it's going to be tough. We're going to move on. We're going to move on to 2 of the women, the only 2 women at the event, Paige Pierce, Kristen Tatar. They were talked about a little bit more in depth yesterday because I said I wanted to do the Chains for Charity. We had Jay Redding join our Smashbox TV podcast last night, and as he was doing the Chains for Charity, I was thinking, you know what? I love supporting FPOs. I love supporting FPO Golf. I'm going to specifically, I want to support Paige Pierce and Kristen Tatar, so I went and signed up for that. Great setup that Jay Redding and Disc Golf United and Chains for Charity are doing. So taking a look at their 2 scores, I'll start with Kristen. She had a little bit of a struggle out there. I said it last night on the podcast that she didn't seem like she was completely into it, and in fact I think she was a little bit tired, and I think she was kind of even looking to have the week off. And then with winning the U.S. Women's, an invitation or exemption or whatever you want to call it, invitation comes along, and with that they give her the invitation to play, which is an amazing honor and tremendous feat for any woman to qualify for the event, as we've seen so few. But I also think, I'm not sure she was fully mentally prepared or maybe as excited as I think we saw from Paige. So she went out today. Unfortunately for her, she only had 4 pars on the day, and a lot of them were over par. A lot of the other holes were over par, but she did have 3 birdies on the day. So when it was all said and done, she had 3 birdies, 4 pars, and then the rest she'd like to forget about. Now, on the other side, on the FPO side, of course, another huge topic of conversation is Paige Pierce, and can she find herself inside the cash line at this event? She has completed so many feats. She has done so many things that we've never seen a professional woman do before. And she wouldn't be the first woman to cash, as Juliana Korver did that a number of years ago. But that's definitely a goal of hers. She's been on the course, she's caddied, she's played, she's done a bunch of other things, and she's played in the event. She won the performance flight a few years ago, and now she's got her sights set on going out and actually cashing in the event. So when it was all said and done, she had 4 birdies on the day, and correction, she had actually more than that. She had 4 birdies in the last 6 holes. So where we saw Paul, for instance, pick up 2 birdies in the last 3 holes, Paige actually picked up 4 birdies in the last 6 holes. So it was awesome to see. As I'm going to try and actually look for the information I had on her. So Paul, by the way, finds himself in a tie for 83rd. Again, phrases you don't hear too often. And Kristen Tatar, ultimately we see in 112th, as she came in with that plus 13. And then as I slide up on the list, we see Paige Pierce hanging with so many other really solid players. And as I mentioned, she birdied 4 out of the last 6. She had 6 birdies on the day. She finished in that plus 2, and she's in a tie for 58th. She's tied with Mike Brown, Charlie Goodpasture, Peter McBride, Martin Hendel, Steven Schrader, Ezra Robinson, all tied with her right now. And as I'm looking at some of the other names of people that she bested or outperformed even today in the opening round, Austin Turner comes to mind, Colton Montgomery. Again, not to pick on any of those guys, but Paige putting herself, just below halfway point or so right now in that 58th place. So very, very impressive performance out there by her. As I'm going to drill down just a little bit more here on UDisc. Of course, you can find this all on udisclive.com. Paige actually found herself with 5 out-of-bounds strokes. So if you think about her shooting a plus 2 and think about where she can clean things up, how she can clean things up, it's really no surprise. Paige, when she struggles, more often than not, she's either a little overly aggressive and things get away from her, or she finds herself just simply going out of bounds. And if you're going to go out of bounds anywhere, it's probably on this course. So she did it on holes 1, 3A. I think she probably, 1, 3A, 6, 12, and then her final hole of the day, hole number 18. So that's what we see. Now, so best of luck to all of the competitors. I'm hoping I see 1, 2, 3, 4, again, 6 birdies from her, 3 from Kristen. So the more birdies they get, the more money it costs me, and the more money it goes to charity. And I couldn't be happier about that, which is awesome to see. All right, so moving on. I actually want to step back for just a moment because it kind of got glossed over in our podcast last night. I'm not sure all the details were out, but I do want to quickly give a shout out our distance champions from yesterday. Now, the distance competition there is unique. It's not a full out world distance record opportunity. WIFDIF isn't there, and it's not technically a sanctioned event in that sense. So if somebody would have thrown, I'll make up a number and say, thrown 1,200 feet, it wouldn't be a new world record. It'd be a new distance record for the USDGC. It'd be an amazing accomplishment, but it wouldn't be a new official world record because of the sanctions that aren't there, and because it's not, sanctioned is the best way to put it. It's not a WIFDIF sanctioned event. So you do have somewhat of a confined space that you have to throw in, just like we saw at the World Championships. That's really you have to throw it far, but you also have to keep it inbounds within a certain targeted area. All right. Thank you, Jeff, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. And there was a super chat a little earlier. Was that Lance? I want to say thank you as well. I think he was throwing shade. I think he said he was whooping Macbeth by 4, and that's why he donated, super chatted $4. So that's what was happening for the distance competition. Now, what's really cool about it, the way that they've been doing it for, I think, for the last few years, is everyone can go out. They have any time during the day on Tuesday within, I don't know, 9 to 5 probably, or whatever it might be. They can go out and throw their 5 shots that they get, and then their longest shot gets measured. And then whoever has the longest throw at the end of the day, that's who is your champion. Now, the top 4 or top 5 competitors then get to go to the distance showcase that then happens right after the tournament. So as the final putt goes in on 18, you're going to hear some music. You're going to hear some, some ruckus. I think it's a kid's term. You're going to hear some music and such. And almost immediately, they have everyone kind of stand on the, we'll say, the back side of 18, and then throw from that clubhouse area over the water. And then ultimately, they're trying to get over the water to hole number, over to 5's fairway, and then even on the road over from hole number 5. So that's the distance showcase. Some of the coolest shots we've ever seen, like double G throwing lefty and clearing the water. Watching players, a few players like double G actually throwing a putter over that distance. So it's pretty incredible. I know Paige Pierce has cleared that distance before, so it's quite incredible. So anyway, your distance champion, I know, hold on. Real big spoiler here. Your distance champion this year was Simon Lizotte. Lizotte threw 690 feet, and I believe the actual throw was even featured on a Discmania story. So UC was in town and has been out there. He's on site, and he showed Simon throwing his longest shot. Now, of course, you can't really follow it. It's on a phone, but his 690-foot winning shot was filmed on a phone, and it's on the Discmania Instagram story. So, fellow teammate Eagle McMahon throws 636 feet to take second, it's incredible to think that Eagle is in second, and he's a full 54 feet behind where Simon's drive was. So just putting that in perspective. Drew Gibson, again, no shortage of distance by Drew. He throws 624, and he tied. That was third place, and Oskari Vikström? Oskari. Yeah, we'll go with that. I apologize, Oskari Vikström throws 624 feet as well. So Simon 690, Eagle 636, Drew and Oskari throws 624. So, and Zach Pajek on the board says, yeah, I threw like 340 tonight. So just figure 3 more of those throws, and you'll be near where we saw Simon Lizotte throw his drive. I don't know why I seem to have lost my computer. That would not be good. We'll see if we can get it back up and running. Come on, the one time in my life I actually write notes. Hey, there we go. All right, so that's what we saw from the distance competition. Shout out to them. There was the award ceremony last night. Opening award ceremony, and also some golden rakes were given out. I apologize. I believe it was a couple. I want to get them recognized, even though I don't think that I've spoken to them in the past, but I would love to get them recognized if I can make my computer work, as they were given the Golden Rake Award. For those that don't know, Golden Rake Award is given away to outstanding volunteers, people that have showed up and have given so much to the championship throughout the years. Just pretty incredible. Yes, and sorry, Zach, I guess you only needed like 2.5 of your throws, not 3 of them. Golden Rake was given to Doug and Diana Singleton, and I apologize, I do not know them that well myself. But Diana has been volunteering for 21 years, while Doug has done it for 20. So, yeah, those sound like lifetime members that have been there for every single year of the event. and just pretty incredible. So quick shout out to them. So I wanted to touch on some of the news from yesterday, which was the distance competition, also the opening ceremony, including the Golden Rake Award winners. So very cool. All right, so we've talked about Macbeth. We've talked about Paige and Tatar. I feel bad that he's come this late in the show, but we have to talk, of course, about our leader and the very, very impressive day that he had out there. There's something to be said. Chris Clemens, Team Dynamic Disc, and what is to be said about it in my perspective, and I may or may not have said it last night, there feels like there's a distinct advantage to left-handed players out here. We've seen lefties not necessarily win or take this thing down, but we always seem to see a few lefties that really excel. Rewind a couple years ago, Max Nichols, who's unfortunately not here this year. He's not competing. They're expecting their first child any day now. And he really, really rose up big in the last few rounds and helped solidify himself as a up and coming pro that shoots really well. He's left-handed. We saw sharing a piece of the lead and still sitting on the lead card, Nathan Queen, who really, I think if I recall, just had one bad hole today. So Nathan Queen with a solid round out there today. Yeah, he had on hole 12, he took a 7, so he took a triple bogey, and then he did bogey hole 17. But he had a solid day out there. So Clemens and Queen, both left-handed players, both having really good days out there. Again, I'm not going to say it's a righty versus lefty course. I'm just saying that when you're making picks, when you're thinking about this in the future, just really think about that lefty angle, because it seems as if either they rise to the occasion on this given week, or it just sets up a little bit better for them. I think of someone who had the hot round, and I'm going to really go back a few years. Someone who had the hot round a number of years ago, might have been the final day or the third day, Jeff Bennett. And if any of you remember seeing Jeff Bennett on the tour, almost 100% a forehand thrower. He was righty, but a forehand thrower. And you saw him, I believe, come in with the hottest round at during that specific year, or the hot final round. You might have been bogey free. I don't know. Check some of my stats. I make stuff up. But again, I just always think about that lefty component, or people that are throwing with that spin and that angle. Okay, so those are things to think about. Not discrediting them in any way. It's awesome to see, again, Chris Clemens, who had a little bit of a slow start if you really compare him to a few of the other players that had good days out there. I look at Nate Sexton, I look at Eagle McMahon, Lance Brown, all started with opening birdies. I mean, there were a few players, one or two anyway, that were 2 or 3 down in the first 2 holes, or, well, in the first 4 holes, and we saw Clemens go birdie free. He didn't have any birdies in the first 4 holes, so he gets it on 5, he gets it on 7, 9, 10, and then 12 through 16 he rings up all those birdies as well, which is crazy, because where he got hot, 12 through 16, is exactly where Simon stalled a little bit. Simon, who's sitting in second place, Simon went par 12 through 15, 12, 13, 14, 15. He went par during that stretch, but then got the last 3. So I don't know. You guys can take a look at UDisc Live. I don't want to just sit and exclusively read numbers to you, because I think most of you can do that. But it's just so incredible when you look at where people got hot, what they were doing, and as the course went on, and how they were handling themselves. And one other person that jumps out at me, the 2 people that are Nathan Queen at 7 down and Nate Sexton at 6 down, they shredded from 7 to 12, 7 to 11. Like, Nate went 2, 4, 5 down in that. Nate Sexton went 5 down in that stretch. Nathan Queen went 4 down in that stretch of those 5 holes. So to me, some of those really just jump off the page when you see our top 3 players all bogeyed hole 8, but then Nathan Queen and Nate Sexton definitely picked up strokes on the field when they were birdieing hole 8. So take a look at that. Again, UDisc Live. You can break it down in every possible way that you want. You can find out which hole was the toughest, which one played the toughest, and all of the individual statistics for them. And that's one thing I'm going to quickly jump to is I do want to look at, well, I'm going to say a couple of the changes. And this year, we saw, of course, the changes happening. 1 and 2 are the old 3 and 4 essentially, but then 3 and 4, the new 3 and 4. And one thing that I was really, I'll say, surprised with is that when you take a look at hole number 3, if I can find it here, sorry, or 3A, I guess, as it's being labeled. 3A came in as the 7th most difficult. Just 9% of our players, so only 10 of them in total, took birdies on the hole. I thought that was really interesting to see. 63% of our field took pars, and 28% of the field took bogeys or above. And then I think, to me, the number one statistic, I'm not a stats guy, I'm not much of a numbers guy, I'm not much of a breaking it down hole by hole guy, but when I notice something like this and it jumps off the page at me, I think it maybe speaks to me a little bit. The second most difficult hole on the course was under 300 feet. Hole number 4 is 299 feet. It's a par 3. It's got 17, 18, 44 mandos on it. Okay, maybe just 4 or so. But it's got 4 mandos on it, and it's a tunnel shot, and just 4% of the field birdied it. All right, 4% of the field comes to what, 5 players. Well, let's give them a shout out for if I'm going to go drill down this far, right? Reed Friskira, Calvin Heimberg, Drew Gibson, Noah Minstra, and Austin Little. Those five players, the only 5 to take birdies, and I was going to say the longest distance was 38 feet by Noah. So so he had the circle 2 make from there, and that's it. There's, of course, on this 299 footer, there were plenty of 3s. There were a good number of 4s. Holy cow, there were quite a few 5s and even some 6s. In fact, I can tell you, there were 14 double bogeys and 3 players with triple bogeys. What are your thoughts? That's all. That's what I can ask. I have not played the hole, obviously. I did not see it played in person today, but 299 feet, an incredibly tight tunnel, super tiny gap, multiple mandos, and just 5% of our field birdieing it. All right, so again, I'm not a guy that breaks down and gets super analytical of the stats, but when I see just 5 players out of the entire field birdie it, something doesn't feel right about that. I don't know where the pin should be. I don't know what how the greens or the fairway or the mandos should maybe be. I can't speak to any of that yet. I'll be interested to see more of it, but when just 5 players birdie it, and it's only 299 feet, and only one of those birdies was from outside the circle, I don't know. It does not feel right. All right. So that's about as statistical as I'm going to get on you guys here tonight, unless you get some other stuff you want me to make up. I mentioned Chris Clemens. I mentioned Nathan Queen, lefties. Something to always keep in mind when you're watching the videos out here. Lefties, there's something about lefties out here, and I wish them all the best of luck. Now, maybe the second biggest story, believe it or not, behind Macbeth's not Macbeth-like opening round, Ken Climo. I know there was a lot of talk about it. We haven't seen Ken competing. I know they put out an article talking about when the last time was that he competed, how he hasn't really played much. He played in some doubles. He didn't practice. I don't believe he practiced at all really for the tournament, or didn't get a round in at the tournament. And his main goal was to come out to the tournament and to have to get through round one. He wanted to be able to play. He was hoping to be able to play an entire round. Last year, he ended up going out and just playing hole number one, if I recall, and then he retired, so to speak, or called it. But this year, he said his goal was he was feeling better and he was hoping to get through round one. And let me tell you, it was pretty impressive as a start. I certainly was watching those scores, and let me find just how great of a start he had, because I know it was pretty solid. He he started, let's put it this way, through 5 holes, he actually had a better start than Chris Clemens, who's leading the tournament. Through 5 holes, he had 0 bogeys and 3 birdies, excuse me. In fact, we'll go all the way up to hole 7, where that would then extend him. He had 4 birdies and 1 bogey. So as Mr. Yoder, I think, just said, he was 3 down through the first 7 holes. I mean, what does that tell you? Like, can you imagine? He's 51, doesn't practice, doesn't go out and play the course ahead of time, shows up and plays 2 new holes in 3 and 4, and he goes out and he is 3 under through the first 7 holes. I don't know how that can't be considered impressive at every level. Now, we don't have time to get through this whole GOAT conversation, but the GOAT conversation can be a little bit funnier and more interesting specifically today, as we see Paul have one of the roughest rounds in recent history, and then we see Ken Climo, who's barely playing, comes out, has a really great start. Now, unfortunately, looked like right around the back 9, things seemed to fall off for him. He ended up taking a triple bogey on hole number 9. He took a 7 there. 10, he parred. 11, he came back with a birdie. And then it looks like kind of the meat of the course there, where you really, really, really can give away strokes. He did just that, and he found himself OB, and that's what it was. On 9, he went OB twice. That's where he took the triple bogey. And then on 13 and 14 and 16 and 17, he also took OB strokes. So in his last 5 holes, he had 4 out of bounds strokes. And the real conversation that ended it, or maybe even started it, I should say, when he got to hole 18, he played out on 17, ended up walking away with a double bogey 5. From what I gathered, now this is from Don Smith's Facebook feed, he threw the drive on 18. I believe he even threw the approach, and he had a tap in. I'm not sure if it was for 3 or 4 or 5. I don't recall, actually. He had a tap in, and he intentionally did not tap in. And the logic was, if I don't complete the round, then they won't even attempt or be tempted to put him on a scorecard in a group for tomorrow. Okay? So let me repeat that. And I think it's important, because I think a lot of people were asking exactly what in the world happened. But if I read Facebook, and everything's true there, we know that. If I read Facebook correctly, it looked as if he played out on 18 and then intentionally did not tap out his final putt, because he said he didn't even want he didn't want to have a completed round and then not have him be put on a card for tomorrow. He had already known that he was not going to be playing any more rounds at the tournament. Interestingly enough, before he got on to 18, he was +5, which, I mean, you look at the card, clearly not a stellar round, but +5 puts him 1 ahead of Macbeth. Again, assuming he finished with a par. +5 puts him in a tie for 78th place, and almost 1,000 rated round. Now, you immediately say, well, why did he do that? Does that story check out? And knowing Kenny, I believe that story checks out. Some people have suggested, and the thought did cross my mind today, did he not complete that final hole because he didn't want whatever the round was going to be rated, which still would have been like 995 or so, did he not complete that because he didn't want it on his record? Although he's not playing any tournaments these days, But did he not want that round, injury ridden and comeback as part of his comeback or not? Did he not even want that to go onto his record? Now, there's one gaping hole in that theory, and Scott just said it on the board, and others have said it. I'm not the first to say it. That wouldn't have been the case because the round's not rated anyway. It's unofficially rated. We can talk about Chris Clemens having a 1064, and then what Kenny's would have been. Like I said, that would have been rated, if there was ratings, that would have been a 993, but it didn't matter because the rounds are not rated in an official capacity that go onto your actual record. So, and for what it's worth, according to the PDGA, his rating, last update, was May 23rd, 2017. His last rating was, in fact, 1024. So, for whatever that's worth to you guys. So, yeah, Charles is saying, he's got a quote, in fact. Again, it's on the internet, so I'll believe it. He says, Kenny said, I do not want to be put on a card for Thursday. So, that was his way. That Kenny has very deep roots in sports, but specifically in golf. And so he felt as if that would be his best way to guarantee that somebody wouldn't forget it or oversee it or whatever, that he wouldn't put himself or get himself onto a card for Thursday's round. So there's the story. That's what I've heard. That's what I'll relay. But the side note to that entire conversation has to be the fact that the tournament's rounds aren't rated anyway. And some may say, well, why is that? This is a PDGA major. It's arguably the most coveted tournament of the year, give or take the World Championships. Of course, you could argue one or another. Most people would say Worlds, then USDGC if you had to win them in order, or win one and not the other. Most would say Worlds. However, it's not rated. And I personally, take it for what it's worth. You're playing for championships. You're playing for prestige and titles and all that other stuff. I personally, though, have to just chime in and say I'm not a fan. I really dislike the fact that an event with all of our best players, or most of them, on one of the most challenging courses, playing in the, hopefully the same or relatively similar conditions for over a 4-round tournament, I personally feel it's an absolute travesty that the ratings from these rounds then don't affect your overall rating whatsoever. What better time is there in the entire year to see how A stacks up with B and B stacks up with C? Name me a better time at any point in the year when you have this level of competition, playing with arguably the most or second most on the line, and then so to know at the end of the weekend, doesn't matter what you shot. And plenty of you can say, well, who cares? If I could shoot 980 golf and walk away the tournament champion, I'd be happy with that. And of course, everybody wants to win this event, but yet it just isn't a thing. And then you're going to ask, well, why might that be? And as far as I know, it has everything to do. It's considered now an X tier, X major, as in there's A sanctioning, B sanctioned, C sanctioned, L for league, and then X tier, and then there's majors, and it is considered an XM, as in an X major, in terms of its sanctioning. And the reason for that is because they play with the unique rules that are found in the drop zones, that are found on the island greens, that are found on, you throw it from here twice and then you move to. It has, the conversation about, years ago it was the whole stroke and distance conversation and how one hole is played another way and one hole is played so on and so forth. So all of those things are factored into why it's given this X rating, XM rating. And so we may all just be at a stalemate, but really not. In my opinion, it is silly and I don't know who you want to pin it on. I'm not out here to like place blame or get all worked up about it necessarily, or point fingers, but somehow our one of our most prestigious events on the planet should in fact have the ratings count. And that's going to be, is that a ratings rant from me for the night? Probably the last time I'll talk about it. It's great. We still have them. I mean, I still think things seem relatively accurate when you look at what our unofficial ratings that are posted to the PDGA. It's funny that they're there in the first place, but it's not going to matter. If Chris Clemens ended up shooting 4 1,100 rated rounds of golf this weekend to win the tournament, his rating will have no impact. And to me, that just sounds silly. So, thanks, Trevor. I'm going to take a break from babbling for a second. Thanks, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for tuning in. There's so many of you here. I would love to know if this is something, Planet. I would love to know if you guys do like the idea of me or me and Johnny having some kind of a breakdown. Granted, I wasn't there today, but I do really appreciate you guys tuning in to have a little conversation. Maybe it's just the hubbub of all of this major, not rated major, that's happening. But yeah, if I put a few minutes of thought into it, I actually have a few things to say. So let me know, because if this is something you guys like, I could actually see continuing this maybe for the rest of the week. And in a quick side note, Johnny V and I have talked about hosting a watch party of sorts, where what we would do is we'll watch the video. We won't be restreaming it, but we'll watch the video, and then we'll talk about what's happening as it's happening. So we're going to be kind of like watching it with you. So we would invite you to do the same thing. You would pull it up on one of your devices starting tomorrow, or Friday or Saturday. You pull it up on your device, you're watching it, we're watching it, and then we're kind of talking along with it. Now, we're talking about doing that for Saturday only, probably, but if we do that, that will be over on the Smashbox TV page, and then we can have some fun interaction. Maybe we have our own giveaways. Just kind of make it a community where we can all have fun and talk along and experience it together. And we want to support and encourage the live broadcast that's going on. So that's that may show up come Sunday, and I'll get to some Q&A in a few minutes here. All right. So all that chatter, all that talk, all those people talking about where the women are, talking about who performed well. There's obviously, you should go through the UDisc. Of course, they have the awesome profile feature where you can favorite your top players or the players you like the most. You can, when you pull it up on the site, there's a little star. And if you click on that star, what it will do is it will pin those people to the top. And you can do that with whomever you'd like, as many people as you'd like. So you don't have to scroll necessarily up or down looking for people. You can always just pin them to the top. That's a feature they added a year or two ago, and it's amazing. So make sure you're doing that. But here is what I was looking at. And I'm going to exclude the top two, all right? Because the top two cards, because people are already watching them. There's really no surprises or stories. There's nothing unexpected there. When you're seeing those guys, they're also going to be getting the coverage, so on and so forth. So what my question to you is, and maybe somebody's doing it on the board already, my question to you guys would be, what do you feel like are the next, they could be star-studded, they could be your friends, they could be surprises, whatever you want to call them. What are the next cards that you're watching? Or if you were to go out there tomorrow, maybe this is a better way to phrase it. If you went out to the event tomorrow and they said, hey, for whatever reason, you can't follow cards 1 or 2, or you get there early enough and you have the luxury of following more than one card in a day. What are some of the cards that jump out to you that are maybe either more stacked or some of your favorites, or have other storylines to them? What are some of those cards? So while you're thinking about it and scrolling, and all the tee times are posted, I'm going to talk about a few of the cards that maybe jumped out at me. Call some of them surprises, whatever they might be. But here's what my thoughts are. And again, I quickly perused these before we got started tonight. Aside from watching Paige go after this major feat that she has, I would always I love watching the way she attacks a course and seeing what she could do out there. So other cards though, 1040 card for me. There's a couple people chiming in already. 1040 card, Scott Withers from the Northwest, KJ USA, Kevin Jones, who did not have a day that you'd probably expect from him, Nick Masters, and Grady Shue. I feel like that's a really solid card. I feel like KJ does not like pars. A year or two ago, we saw him just shred the course. I think he had like 32 birdies that round and like 29 bogeys, whatever it was. He shredded. All right. So him along with Nick Masters. Nick Masters is a little extra special story. Nick Masters was one of the guys that got into the tournament on Monday qualifying. So he gets a little nod for that. It's always cool to see who showed up on Monday, who put their best game forward and performed. And now they're on the big stage. All right. So Scott Withers, KJ USA, Nick Masters, and Grady Shue. I did notice today that Grady Shue is without his fiance, only in that she is in Paige Bierkes. She's back in Emporia. She had a live show thing that was happening, going on, and everything else. So it was somewhat surprising to me to see that she was back in Emporia, taking care of some of her life and business. They're getting married in a couple weeks, but Grady Shue without Paige Bierkes there on the bag or walking along, but she's got other things to do. Totally understandable. Wow, my computer. All right, so that was, I believe, the 1040 card. As soon as I get my computer back up and running, this is, I don't know who set the timer on this thing, but this is ridiculous. Truth Always Wins says, this is as many views as a typical Tuesday night on Smashbox. I think we were all focused on the hair. I mean, I don't know. I think it turned out all right today. I've been going with a different, look for the last few weeks. Last night was completely different. And tonight I'm like, wow, opening night of USDGC, I got to give you guys something different. What do you think? No? Okay. Thanks, Jimbo. Says I look real nice. All right. Next card. 1220. That's a card that jumps out at me as well. Michael Johansson, Silver Lot out of Estonia, Austin Hannum, and Joel Freeman. So if you're looking again for kind of those household names and bang for your buck, if you were to go out and say, I'm going to follow a card and, maybe I'll catch up with, or I'm catching up with the lead card or the chase card later, sure. But the 1220 card looks like it would be a fun card to follow. Again, those are some of the names that you see frequently. You've seen them on coverage, maybe not quite as often as some of the other names. But again, Michael Johansson, Silver Lot, Austin Hannum, and Joel Freeman. So, and a couple of four-handers there. Not so much MJ, but Silver, Austin, and Joel Freeman, I think on any given day, all can put down some serious forehands. So I'd love to see that card. And then I'm going to move up just two more slots to another card that has a little extra special story in it, in that 1240 has, it might move a little slower, but you're going to have Dustin Keegan, Philo Brathwaite, Nick Newton, and Andrew Presnell coming in from Discraft Andrew. First of all, what do we got there? 4 different sponsors. All right. You got Philo with Innova, Dustin Keegan with DD, Nick Newton with Legacy, and Andrew Presnell with Discraft. So we're spreading the love around a little bit there. And then on top of it, Nick Newton, as some of you already saw, carded the ace today. First ever throw in competitive USDGC play, and he slams the bass, slams it in, and takes the ace on hole number 1. Awesome. Congrats. I can't say enough about that, Nick. I mean, you're a couple years late. They, I think at one point, had a $10,000 bounty on that if you got an ace. I know at one point a really nice mountain bike was given away for an ace on that hole a number of years ago. Again, I'm kind of dating myself a little bit, but I believe one year there was a $10,000 bounty on hole number 10 for an ace. It was not hit, but that's, of course, when it was hole number 3. And then also, as Tim Donegan just pointed out, Thomas Gilbert with the ace on hole number 17 today. Unfortunately, a little bit, he got bit by hole 18. He follows up his ace. He was not having a stellar round by any means, but he aces hole 17 and then takes the triple bogey on hole number 18. So he walks away with the 7 to finish out the day. He finished at plus 11 on the day. He struggled, not what you'd expect to see from him. And there's a few other people right around him that you wouldn't expect. I see Logan Bowers, who had a rough day out there. Willie Prince. I mean, we've seen Willie Prince shoot, 12, 13, 14, whatever it was at the Toboggan a couple years ago. I mean, just incredible. And then comes out to this course and just obviously has a rough go today. Shoots plus 12. And I guess I just can't say it enough times. When you're seeing 1,000 rated players come out here and shoot plus single or plus double digits, it's absolutely crazy that that's what can happen out at this course. Now, again, it sounds like from what I heard it was incredibly hot today. I don't know how the humidity was. I believe that it was incredibly hot out there today. I guess what I could do, since that was something I could have done earlier, maybe check the weather. I don't know if it's supposed to be hot all week from what I gathered. I thought I heard somebody else say, but I'm going to put in good old Rock Hill. Some of you guys probably already know this. It's probably already been talked about, but I can give it all to you. Rock Hill says it's 75 right now. Feels like 75. And let's check the weather for the week. Oh my goodness. That's disgusting. I'm glad I'm here where it's 59 degrees. Holy cow. Tomorrow, a high of 99. Friday, a high of 95. Saturday, I'm guessing it's not dipping into a calm 67. Friday, 95. Wow, it drops 20 degrees. Holy cow, I almost ate my own words there. It says that it's going to drop 20 degrees and be a high of 75 on Saturday. So 99 on Thursday, 95 on Friday, 75 tomorrow. And honestly, Thursday night it says 71% humidity. It says 86% humidity at the moment. And then Friday, 50% humidity and 95. I don't know if you guys know this. I'm a little bit bigger guy. None of that interests me at all. So good luck with them. Yeah, cold front is moving in, they say, but that sounds disgusting. It does not show precipitation. It just shows so much of that humidity, and that seems also really disgusting when you're talking about 98 or 99 and 95 degrees with 50% humidity. I'm just going to say that sounds absolutely disgusting. So we'll keep an eye on that. Your birdie bags, your whale sacks, your bogey-free bags, your mitten bags, your sport sacks. Is there any other names? Did I miss any out there? I think that's about all of them that I can think of. Mitten bags, whale sacks, birdie bags, bogey-free bags, dirt bags. I don't want to get accusatory here. I think that's most of them. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah. So hopefully we'll see how those conditions work within the players and how that affects them. Why dry chalk bags? Thank you. I knew there was another one. And I'm sure there'll be another one by tomorrow. All right. So as I'm going to start to close out what I had for you guys, other things I want to think about. Paul Ulibarri, first of all, he did have his surgery. He has been doing trying to get better and heal. I remember saying to him, he said something about things are going well, and he's on his road to recovery. But I said, and this was a few weeks ago, I said, oh, and will you be ready for USDGC? Like, I didn't really think about it all, and he just laughed. And he said, no. I'm hoping to be ready by the beginning of next year. All right, so that's the update that I have on Paul Ulibarri. Before I go to the next point, then I will also say, little twist, little turn last night. Simon Lizotte joined our Smashbox TV after show and told us he basically came onto the show and then said he was really concerned for Ricky Wysocki and how Ricky Wysocki has mentioned that he has the Lyme disease. He mentioned that he's, as of yesterday, the day before, said he's going to he's going to withdraw from the next 3 events. This one, the Hall of Fame Classic, and the Pro Tour finale. Then there seemed to be a conversation around if he's going with a fully holistic approach or if he's going to do some or any antibiotics. And just from there, it's just completely erupted. And I know other social medias and chat boards and whatnot have erupted with plenty of insight. Some I think was probably really spot on and great. Some was probably a little bit harsh. I don't know the whole story. I just know that when Simon came on last night, he was incredibly concerned about Ricky's short-term and long-term health. And it was just, I don't want to say it was odd, but it kind of was. And I know he was genuinely is trying to look out for him. So we wish you the best, Ricky, whatever your approach is. I don't know if it's fully holistic or if you are taking anything, whatever the case might be. I just hope that things are on the upswing for you and that things are going better for you. All right. All right. So I'm going to move over the other quick notes that I have on here. Most of you already know post-production you're going to see tomorrow will come from Spin TV and those guys and gals if they have any. That's going to feature Paige Pierce, Simon Lizotte, Chris Dickerson, and AJ Risley. So spoiler if we've talked about their scores already. But Paige, Simon, Dickerson, and Risley, and I can all but guarantee that's going to be some really good golf, which is awesome to see. On the Jomez card, if you didn't believe what happened on UDisc and you thought there was somehow a glitch on UDisc, well, you will be able to see probably every single shot brought to you from Jomez as they covered the Macbeth, James Conrad, Austin Turner, and Noah Osborne card. So that's who we are. That's who you're going to see on the post-production. I can all but guarantee they're editing it this very minute. Probably both teams are. I don't know what time they'll release. Johnny V and I have said this countless times, and I strive for this as best as I can when I am on a next day turnaround tight timeline. I'm hoping that those are available before the rounds tomorrow, so that before you're watching UDisc live, or you're watching it live, of course, through the event and Fulcrum. I'm hoping that at least an hour before those go live, you're able to then catch up on the day. And that's just call it nothing more than just a wish or a desire or something that gives you a little bit more sequential relevance. Because I feel like it's really weird, and this goes for any time there's any live, I feel like it's really weird to see a second round live, but then go back and then still watch the first round. And you already know what happens in most cases anyway. I get all of that. But to me, it's just weird. So I would really love to see any post-production. And this goes for every tournament. I'm not saying this about just this tournament. This goes for every tournament. I'd love to always see the post-production, if possible, to be up and available before the live of the next day. Even though I know what that grind is like, and I'm not, I'm not complaining or suggesting otherwise. If you want complaining, talk to the birthday boy. Just kidding, kind of. Our boy Jeremy Colling, I think, celebrated a birthday today, and almost found himself on the lead card of the USDGC after his round today. I think he's going to be on, second or third card, but at one point he was definitely right there in contention for being on the lead card after his birthday round, which is pretty incredible if you think so. All right, and just to double check, Colling looks like he should be probably on the third. 1, 2, carry the 1, maybe the third. Actually, he might not make the third card simply because of his PDGA number, third or fourth card, whatever the case might be. He did have a rough finish. Oh, wow, such a clean round. I did see that earlier. He ultimately had, holy cow, yeah, he had 8 birdies and then finished with a triple bogey on the final hole to dip from what would have been a tie for first all the way to a tie for 11th. And he's tied with Barry Schultz, who's won this event 2 other times, and he's tied with Steve Brinster, who's won this event, and he's just ahead of Nico, who's won, and Dave Felberg, who's won. So you're talking about some pretty serious company when you're looking at that. And Eric on the board is telling me right now that no one went bogey free. And again, quick search at UDisc would probably confirm just that. Coling, again, the triple bogey to finish. Barry Schultz just had a single bogey on 13A. You're right. I'm sure there were a few players that maybe just had one bogey, but pretty incredible day out there. Simon Lizotte, the one bogey on hole number 8, and Chris Clemens, the one bogey on hole number 8. So it's crazy to think how good these players are, and then think, okay, you're going to bogey one hole out there, and then the top 2 players bogey the exact same hole. So just for just to put that a little bit more in perspective, I want to tell you how difficult hole number 8 played on the day. I can do that, of course, all thanks to UDisc and a few clicks. So hole 8 came in as that's surprising, came in as the 12th most difficult hole. It averaged 4.09, so just 0.09 above par. There still ended up being 18 players that took birdies, and there were 23 players that took a bogey and 3 players that took doubles or worse. So 62% of the field taking pars. Okay, so another way you could word that and say, all right, Simon, all right, Chris, you're going to get one bogey today. Where's it going to be? I don't think either of them would have said, yeah, I could totally see bogeying hole 8. Like, and that's why it's golf, right? Because you would never anticipate that, considering the difficulty of that hole for those players. So, all right. Let me see if there's anything else in my notes before I go to a little more Q&A. Oh, live production. I kind of briefly touched on it, but what I do want to say about the live production, Fulcrum Media, if you go to I don't know if I can punch it in on my own, but USDGC.com/live, that will actually bring you to it. I didn't even think about actually checking it here on my chat board. I got a chat board here. What do you know? I'm going to put it in here for you guys, USDGC.com/live. I believe that will bring you to the live broadcast mechanism. It is $9.99. That gets you coverage for the next 3 days. There are a couple of discount codes running around out there. I'm not familiar with them anymore. I know there were a couple of them that you could get it then for $2 off. You could get it for $7.99. I've paid full price. I want to fully support what they have going on, so I'm excited for it. Johnny paid full price for it. So we're a little overkill, but we're super excited to support what they have going on out there. But that's where you can find it, USDGC.com/live. They'll take you through the portal, all that other stuff. It's there, it's available. Get signed up. What my suggestion would be, if you're here and it's 10:30, 11:30, 9:30, wherever you are, that means you have time to go get it done tonight. And I would say get it done tonight or first thing in the morning. That's one less thing that you should have to do come tomorrow. So, because if there's people that have problems, there might be hundreds of people. And I'm not suggesting they will, but I'm just saying basically beat that rush, okay? And get it all figured out. All right. Somebody, Rev PD blah, 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 says he's not... It sounds like he's not a fan of the pay-per-view model, and I can understand, and I can understand that mentality as well. But times are changing. Anything's going on. Who knows? All right, folks. I am excited to take a few questions if you have them. Someone asks. Trevor says, "I bought it today." Someone else said, what are the odds of it crashing out? That's a great question. I mean, Smashbox TV has talked about the idea or the concept of attempting at some point, whether it's for an exhibition match or whether it's for a full-blown weekend or a bonus weekend, who knows? We've talked about the idea of a pay-per-view concept at some point. We've never done it at this point. So we cannot speak to the nuances or the challenges specifically that we've experienced coming from that pay-per-view model. Now, when I worked with discgolfplanet.tv, when Johnny worked with them, there were times where there was a paywall mechanism that was in place. I don't even know if some of those companies are still in business anymore, some of those paywall and opportunities. So now there are other opportunities for it. YouTube specifically does not have a convenient or easy to use paywall feature for us. And if they did, we would be more inclined maybe to give it a test somewhere, but we've never done it. So the back end, the system that these guys are using, we can't speak anything of it from a Smashbox perspective because we're just genuinely not familiar with an actual outright use. Scott says he paid $25 for a lifetime membership for Disc Golf Planet. I did too, Scott. And in addition to paying for that, I also probably shipped you your membership packet from right here in this very office at one time when I was helping out with them. Anyway, so it's a different model. It's a different system. We know that they are setting up, and we've seen some Instagram stories, and we see what they're doing in terms of the test day. We know that they are using different technology also on the, I'll say not quite the front end, but on in another component where we've used our cellular devices that bond to stream, so on and so forth. They're relying on units that actually send signals from spot to spot to spot, point to point. So you're going to see a truck or a van of sorts that might be literally on the course or near the course that's going to be driving around and acting as a connector point to be sending these signals from these cameras to an upload service to then get it out to the internet. Very different methodology than what we've used in the past. I can't break down all of the specifics, nor can I break down all of the exact technology. Johnny V has just told me and assured me it's just a very different approach. Obviously, we expect it to be as good or better, but it's a very different approach from the technology that we've used in the past. So look for that. That's all we can really say about it because that's all we really necessarily know about it. It will be interesting to see if it's really successful, what the pros and the cons are to it, and if that's something. And we've been pretty blunt about this. If Fulcrum goes out and just like we said last year, if they go out and kill it, or they do something that is leaps and bounds or head and shoulders above, an effort or an output that we have put out, we have no problem either duplicating it or figuring out what they're doing or learning from it and improving on it ourselves. Hence competition is a good thing. So if they find success with a certain strategy or a technology that just genuinely outperforms what we're doing or have done, we've got no problem saying, hey, good call. That's something that maybe we're going to look into. So those are things that we're watching from, I don't want to say from a more critical perspective, but a different perspective. You guys are watching for the play and probably for some of the commentary and some of the things that you get there, things that maybe you're used to or not used to, right? So you're going to get all of those things. And then we, meaning Johnny and myself, have a slightly different perspective just because we're like, hey, why would they do that? Or why wouldn't they do this? Or whatever. Those are all things that we're going to hopefully learn and grow from. We said the exact same thing last year. And the fact that they have 6, 8, 10, 20, whatever it is, they have apparently an incredibly deep crew with a ton of cameras, a lot of equipment. I'm expecting a good show. I mean, they broadcast primarily Ultimate, and I don't know just how up to speed they are with the entire disc golf scene, but I'm expecting a really good show. And I said we'll do just that. We will find the best ways to duplicate any major successes or improvements that they might present to the world tomorrow, okay, and the weekend. So Jamie Thomas and Hannah Macbeth, along with Ken Climo, I believe are going to be who you're going to see all coming in on the booth. I don't know what that exact percentage or mixture is going to be, okay? I don't know if you're going to have Jamie and Hannah 90% of the time, and then Ken steps in and joins them, or if it's going to be Jamie, Hannah, and Ken 100% of the time, or Jamie and Hannah the entire time and Ken's there for 15% of it. I don't know how that format is going to go. I know that Jamie will be prepared. I know Kenny has his own approach to it. I know that Hannah clearly is going to do plenty of work and have her own approach to it. So, and be very prepared for it. So that's what I'm expecting. Okay. All right. So here's what I'm going to do my best to quickly read through some of the comments. I should probably start wrapping things up here. But I want to read through some of the comments and answer any of the questions. So I apologize if I'm going to be looking down. You can check. Okay. Still good. I'll be looking down and trying to read what we're seeing. Maybe I could put it in a different spot. Man, some fancy stuff here. I even have 2 screens. Wow. And Johnny V didn't even help with any of this. I didn't even call him, guys. So I know some of you should be impressed by that. I managed to pull it off. All right. Here we go. Let's read a few things. Where's the televised money going? PDGA still owe money on the rating system? Where's the televised money going? I have no idea. And somebody asked earlier, how many people will pay? We have no idea if that will become a public thing. If I don't feel like it's really our business. Curiosity would love for me to know. But we have no idea. And I'm doubting that at some point, at least on the front end, will you see a ticker of how many people are watching. I know you guys see that with ours when we're out on YouTube, and it tells you exactly how many are watching. I don't know with their back-end system if that's stuff that's going to be available, if that's something that they can hide, if they want to hide, or if they can hide. I have no idea. I'm guessing, this is just nothing more than speculation, I'm guessing that we don't know how many people are watching live tomorrow, and we probably won't find out how many people paid. Those are just guesses, though. And if I'm wrong, I'd love to know the numbers. Again, just from a fellow media perspective, I'd love to know the numbers. But where's the money going? Probably to overall expenses, and I know they are generating money for the Edge program. PDGA still owe money on the rating system? That I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it wasn't cheap, and they probably had to pay a whole bunch of money for it. So it's like any other asset that you buy. You probably don't just buy it outright, and that's the end of it. There were lots of cameras there today, Charles says. Awesome to hear. I do want to follow up on that quickly. Chris Clemens had mentioned that he saw some of the test stream because it was being streamed. Their testing account was being streamed to the hospitality area where the players could hang out and such today. And Chris and a few others said everything looked great. It looked super professional, and the stream and everything looked really good. So that, of course, is very promising for what we may see or hear tomorrow. Okay, so I'm just passing that word along, although I don't know anything more about it. All right. Jimbo says 1,000 people is realistic given past productions, but grow equals new. And that's a tiny fraction of folks watching live golf. The audience is already part of the sport. Jomez is there. I saw them. Yes, they very much are there. They are doing chase card coverage all week. And Jomez is owning it. You've seen them do you ever see them covering chase card? I don't know if we have this year. And now they're on chase card at this event, and they make a promo about how awesome chase card is. So they're totally owning it. Which is great to see. And I expect great coverage to come from them. All right. Who's doing the commentary? I think I just touched on that. Jamie. I believe Jamie Thomas and Ken Klein are doing the commentary for the spin post-production. But then Jamie, Hannah, and Kenny are doing commentary for the live. Did anybody see the round? What's the difference from the past USDGC footage? Nobody's seen any of the golf from today in a polished format other than maybe some Instagram or Facebook living. This should be as good as the American Disc Golf Tour on ESPN3. Gosh, I hope so. They still missing your hair. Yep. I like Ken Climo, but did not see him there, but was looking. He was there. He played all the way through a near tap-in on hole 18, so you just didn't see him. Is it still delayed and editing showing on Jomez right? Yes. So Jomez, like I said earlier, is probably editing as we speak. Probably Big Germ and Nate Sexton doing commentary on it in the morning, and then it'll probably get released sometime tomorrow. So yes, post-production by them will be available. Billy's having problems. Billy, I hope you get your wardrobe fixed and your bodily functions fixed, pal. All right, this makes more sense. Hannah has been doing homework prior. Yes, she's great at doing her homework and being prepared. I hope it works, and I hope I am wrong, but a barrier to entry is a barrier to entry. A lot of randos have spotted Jomez recently, been watching and learning. Hope they don't miss a wave. Okay. I already covered that, Blair, why Kenny didn't tap out on 18. The main reason being he had said that he wanted to make sure that he was not assigned or put on a card for tomorrow's round. And by not tapping out, not completing the round, so on and so forth. All right. What are your thoughts about the Super Mando setup in general? I can't speak to all of them. I did not break down and analyze every single one of them. I think when you just, at face value, when someone says they added 2 new holes and 4 or 6 new Mandos, that sounds like a lot to consume. That's what I'll say about it. All right. Will be a free highlight show from the full live coverage. Not worth buying since live is in the middle of the night here in Asia. Hey, Lance. Hope you're doing well. Can't wait to get over to the middle of Asia in a few months. I don't know what they're going to produce in terms of a highlight. I doubt it. My guess would be I doubt it, is what I could say to that. Based on the fact that Innova wouldn't let tell Paul his disc sales on his own disc, we'll never know. Possibly. Is there a live chat still? That I don't know. Johnny and I talked about it. Someone said that there would be, and I think we all know, per the live chat right here with me babbling on and on, live chat helps bring together that sense of community. And it can get a little vile and stupid and off the rails, and sometimes a banhammer comes out, sometimes it gets spammed. But live chat within our sport really adds to the sense of community. And if you don't like the live chat and you think it's silly or it gets off the rails, all you have to do is hide it or go full screen. And I think that's something that's really special to us. And I'll be the first to admit that the few times there's live disc golf and I'm not there, live chat feels like my way to still interact with the fans and with possibly the commentators, depending on if they're watching or not. Like, live chat to me is really important. So I hope there's something that's easily integrated into the overall pay-per-view option. All right. I thought the money was going towards a disc golf foundation or something of the sort. It would be cool if we, the fans, could hold them accountable. Yeah, and I kind of referenced this in the first place when they first mentioned it. It is going proceeds to benefit Edge. And I just always, and I'm not picking on Innova, I've used the term myself. When you say the term proceeds, I feel like that's always an interesting scapegoat or just it provides an easy gray area. And I'm not throwing shade at Innova by saying that. I'm saying that about any time anyone says that. What are proceeds? I mean, if we look at the definition, maybe via Webster's dictionary, but I'm sure they're going to make a contribution. Who knows? I don't know how much the live broadcast cost. You know, if the live broadcast costs $50,000 and they only bring in $4,000 in viewership or $10,000 in viewership, at that point, is there any proceeds that are going to it? Everyone's definition and how they arrive at that accounting is a little bit different. So that's why I can't speak any more to that. That's a bummy about commentary. Okay. Scott Elam says, perhaps I should drive down and go live on the Macbeth card. You would likely get a few people to watch you on Facebook Live, for sure. Cool One says, I feel like Smashbox has been left out. Hannah and the others commentating, all people that Terry mentored. This feels bad. It feels wrong. I mean, we don't really see it that way. Clearly we were honored and have been honored to have Hannah. I think we were her first big time commentary thing with her doing Worlds with us last year, and then she was brought into the USDGC. This year she did Worlds and now being brought to the USDGC. I mean, she doesn't have an allegiance to us specifically. She's not exclusively a Smashbox TV representative or pundit or whatever you want to say, or analyst or anything like that. We don't have the money to lock her down permanently. There, of course, there's a little bit of a weird feeling just in general. One of the best, biggest, largest events of the year is going on, and we're not there. I'm not there in any capacity. I mean, maybe this is my outlet. I'm not there at all. And it feels really, really weird to me. And now it's going on its third year in a row after me being there for 10 out of 12 or 12 out of 15 years. It does feel a little bit weird. And again, maybe that's where some of this outlet comes from me tonight. It said on the site you can rewatch the live stream. Yes, it will probably buffer in a similar sense to what the YouTube does for us. It may take a couple hours to have official buffer and process, but if you're gone for the 4 hours of the broadcast or 3 hours of the broadcast and you get home 3 hours after it, it probably will be right there ready, kind of like a view on demand. You'll be able to just click it and then watch it. So it'll be there and available for you. And I think they said it's going to be available for 1 month to watch it from the live broadcast. All right, Terry is bringing us stuff for free. Thank you, Disc Golf Guy. You're absolutely welcome. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching and listening to me babble about stuff tonight. I'm going to keep reading through these quickly. UDisc, who was the lowest percentage of par 3 under 200 feet ever. I think you mean under 300 feet, probably talking about hole number 3 again, as I touched on. Vic says he's feeling depressed. He's lost his mom and sister, so we're so sorry to hear that, Vic. Hopefully maybe there's a few laughs and silliness that come from our Smashbox stuff. Maybe some of this lightens your mood. Hopefully some of the play can lift your spirits, but certainly, wow, sorry to hear about your losses. Lance said, we'll see you at the Samui Swine. I'm not going to get off on a tangent about how amazing Thailand is. Registration opened yesterday. Go sign up. Go to Thailand. I'll see you there. It's effing amazing. Live chat does bring stuff. All right. Can remember what you meant if you watch later on. Yeah, live chat can be a little weird depending if it's caught up or not. And, if you're watching live chat and then trying to follow it along, if you're not in the moment, I definitely can understand how it gets a little crazy. The new hole 3 is good. Nice to have a wide open shot of distance, even with the Mandos. New hole 4 is Paige Bjorka special. Super straight, narrow putter. Where do we talk about? Salmon. Yep. I don't think you're going to see any salmon commercials. I believe they said the live stream, yes, will be available. Way too early to know, I'm sure, Terry. Any chance of you in Vegas come February? I will be playing my first national tour event. Talk to Jeff Chaqua and Innova. I think they'll be making that decision. I don't think we're seeing them on the national tour next year. So I would love to be filming in Vegas come February. That'd be right after Thailand. So yeah, sign me up. I would love to be there. I don't know if I will be. Did you happen to film the distance competition that Simon won? If you're asking me, no, I am not physically in Rock Hill, South Carolina, which I know might sound crazy. Why am I doing a show? But I was not there. Tried to buy the live broadcast and payment was declined. Double checked everything was right. Not a great start. You're the first person, Harris, that I've heard anyone say that they've had any trouble doing it. So I cannot speak to that. But you are literally the first person I've seen that has said they had a problem getting through the paywall. Frank says, do you think the companies in charge someday realize that third parties that provided next day coverage deserve a shot at possibly sponsorship to live coverage? I'd really have to reread that. Provided next day coverage deserve a shot at possible No, I don't. If I follow that question correctly, I think the answer is no. Jimbo says nobody deserves anything. It's business. I agree with that. Sometimes business is just business. Hopefully it's on the up and up, but business is just business, in my opinion. Michael is holding out. Michael, says that you're going to wait on social media to hear that the stream looks good before spending money on it. That sounds valid. I'm going in head first. Yes, Terry is legend. If they bypass him in the future, my interest in televised DG is diminished. Well, I appreciate that, Real Creek. PDGA 19 saves 20%. So there was a lot of talk about if you could get $2 off. I don't know if that PDGA 19 still works. Someone said yesterday that it didn't. I also heard USDGC 20 is a way to get that $2 off. Ryan says he just registered for the Samui Swine. Ryan, good man. I just booked 8 nights of hotels in Thailand. So I'm going to say this real quickly about every one of my international travels this year. You're almost an idiot if you don't go to them. That's what I'll say. Australia was amazing. New Zealand was amazing. The Toonie in Finland was amazing. Norway that I just got back from was amazing and then some. Croatia I'm going to in a few weeks I'm excited about. And then Thailand. Like, that's the breakdown. They're all effing amazing. And if you have any chance, get to them. I know. Yeah, like we can just sign up. But you can. And you need to save up and you need to go to them. Thanks for the chat. Frank says, thank you. Are you coming to Vegas? Again, asked. I'm not sure. Will Smashbox be covering any next gen tour, finales 2019 or season in 2020? I don't know about that one cool one. I don't know anything about 2020. The plan is that we've covered the finale for the next gen tour. This year it's going to be in Austin. I'm waiting, actually, this very moment, I'm still waiting on a text from Dave Felberg to figure out where that stands about getting it locked in for this year. The last few years, we've covered the final round or rounds live, so hopefully we'll be doing the same this year. All right, you guys are talking about your payments were declined. I'm sorry. Shouldn't have bought that last disc. Well, Disc Golf Jomez, I don't know what that means. It sucks. I'm putting 10 on red and making it back. If it falls, I'm going 20 on black. If it falls, I'm jumping off. Wow. All right. Any speed trivia tonight? No, Luke, you already won. You win all the time. Jimbo Slice, thank you for the super chat. I didn't know if my super chat was broken. There's a little $ if you're on there. And somebody said that it might have been broke. And I was like, I don't know. You might have to try it. But that's an option for you guys. Scott Elam says, do you need a roommate in Thailand? Absolutely not. Scott, best part about Thailand is you get a hotel room. It could be as cheap as $7 or $8 or $12 a night. You could spend $50 or $60 or $80 if you want like a 5-star resort. Most of us go, at least us and our crew, are going to be doing like a $28 a night entire hotel room to yourself for $28 a night. I don't need a roommate. No offense. No roommate needed. Terry, you and Jomez need to be there. Jomez for their quality, you for your quality, devotion, and especially your consistent support of women's disc golf over a very long time. I appreciate that. Yeah, I can't. I don't know if what you're speaking of. If you're talking USDGC again, Jomez is there. So, what are your card numbers? I can try to type them in. As you guys, does Terry have a full-time job? This disc golf is my full-time job. That's it. Used to be more of running tournaments and designing courses. I've designed like 30 some courses. I used to run 10 to 15 tournaments a year. I used to run leagues 2 to 3 to 4 nights a week or be in charge of them or do something with them. I used to teach a 1-credit class in college for disc golf, at a college for disc golf. Now mainly it's almost 24/7 video stuff. But disc golf full-time since leaving my career in 2003 right after college. Do you think the split between the PDGA and Disc Golf Pro Tour higher-ups might potentially cause a fracture in the coverage? Well, I mean, I don't know if fracture is the right word. What I'll speak to that quickly is the Pro Tour has made it very clear for the last 4 years that they believe in live coverage. At all costs, at every event, every single event, the Pro Tour has had live coverage. What is that, 35, 36 events now? They've had live coverage. The Disc Golf National Tour, not so much. A lot of those have not been capable of having live, but even the ones that could have live, there's just not that goal or that return of value that they find in having live. So I don't know if there's any more of a split than what's already there. Who knows if there'll be any more non-split or I don't want to say cohesiveness, but if that gap will mend or not in terms of the two outlooks. But right now, Pro Tour has 100% supported live for the last 3.5 years it's been in existence. All right. Scott, don't you know, Terry, I don't even know what those are. USDGC took my last payment. Okay. Card was declined for Super Chat. What? I don't think you had enough zeros in there, probably. Oh man, what are they? I can't wait. You guys can exchange your credit card numbers later. All right, guys. It has been. What are your thoughts on rugby? I don't know anything about rugby. It is way too tough and brutal and violent and athletic for me to follow or be part of. Those guys are crazy. Don't they drink a whole bunch of beer and then almost kill each other? Isn't that how rugby pretty much works? Yeah, I don't know what you guys are trying with your super chats. Jimbo Slice just made super chat work. So, come on, guys. I can't say enough. I had no idea how tonight was going to go. I had 6 bullet points written up, and I hope you guys found some value in it. That's all I can say. If you're here, you're still chatting, you're still watching, you must have found a little bit in it. If you super chatted, I appreciate it even that much more. This was just a completely fly by the seat of my pants kind of concept. I really enjoyed it. I loved kind of breaking down what we saw. I think we're going to have even, of course, more storylines tomorrow. There's going to be a follow-up. There's going to be odds. Can Chris Clemens, hold on with this newfound pressure with chasing down this major? Will somebody else be chasing him? Will everything meet our expectations or exceed them from the live broadcast? Will Paul McBeth make any kind of a run? Does he show up and shoot a 2 under tomorrow, or does he shoot a 12 under tomorrow? I mean, there's just so many things to think about as tomorrow unfolds. Will everybody finish their round in 99-degree temperatures and this crazy humidity? Can you mentally and physically keep it together? I mean, just so many things to think about. And those are just off the top of my head. I'm sure you guys have other things also. Will I do this tomorrow? Maybe, probably, sure. If you guys like it, I would love to come back tomorrow. So if you guys promise you'll come back, I'll come back and hopefully give you a few more insights. Jeremiah gives me the super chat and says, message me your credit card numbers for free advice. So there you go. Ryan says, will Lyme disease end disc golf? No, but we wish the best to Ricky Wysocki, Kale, and Johnny McRae and anyone else that's been impacted by it at all. Super chat worked on my ISP. All right, guys. Love you guys. Appreciate each and every one of you. Again, if you liked it, please let me know. Put something in the comments so that I can be assured of it. What maybe you'd like to see or hear that's within my scope or capabilities. And if I can do that, if I can pull that off, I will certainly do so. So last time, love you guys. Appreciate it. And I don't know, we'll catch you hopefully tomorrow night. I'm going to sign off. All right, I'm the Disc Golf Guy, and that was my live round 1 USDGC wrap-up, recap, podcast, informal get-together discussion thing. All right, good night, bye, guys. See ya. No, hang up. Do you want to cancel? It feels so sad, but yes, I'm going to stop live streaming. Good night. What? Did you stop?